Good morning to all of you in the Devil Dog Day Trade community. For those of you who haven't joined us yet, my name is Michael, and I'll be taking us through our day trading setup process for today, December 20, 2021. A special welcome to all of you who have served or are serving in the armed forces, and a shout out to my fellow Marines out there. Good morning, Jarheads. So just note, we do keep things fairly simple here. We have people with lots of different levels of understanding and experience, so we will be presenting information that should resonate with each one of those areas and levels. If you do have a question, though, put a note in the chat, and we'll make sure that we get an answer back to you as quickly as possible. If you're watching this video later, leave us a comment, and so we can, again, make sure those questions are answered. And just as a testament to the process that we're following here, I am a non-active duty Marine now, so if I can figure this out, then it's pretty much open for anyone else out there. So let's go ahead and get started. Nothing big happened over the weekend. No big events that we need to look at. Obviously, the indexes have all continued to move down, which is a little bit unexpected from what the information I was looking at on Friday. So let's jump over and take a look and see what's happening moving forward today. And this is Monday, the December 20th here. The only thing we have, so of any interest to it all, is at 7:30 p.m. we've got an Australian dollar event here. So again, if you're trading either the Australian dollar futures or any Australian dollar Forex symbols, then make sure you take a look at that at 7:30 p.m. tonight. But that is all we have. So nothing really big, nothing we've got to worry about. Not unusual for the week before a major holiday like this. We expect this to be a pretty calm week overall. So let's jump into our correlation markets here, and then just a quick update on what our agenda is going to be today. We'll take a look at our correlation markets. We'll look at the U.S. indexes, and then we'll jump into Forex for quite a bit of the session this morning, and then we'll end with some crypto stuff. And again, just a reminder, you see it in the title here, we are starting to day trade crypto as of today. So once we get done with the setups in crypto today, just keep an eye on all of the social media accounts throughout the day and throughout this week. As each one of those trade setups is coming close, we'll make sure we get that information out to you so you can look and see where we're actually trading, and then we'll follow that up each time with the actual screenshot of how the trade happened and what's going on with the overall account. Really looking forward to this week. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So as we can see, the indexes have all dropped. DAX did the same thing. I'll go ahead and expand this out, and we'll jump over quickly to the weekly, which is what we typically do for Mondays, just to make sure that we've got the overall context here. And you will see that we are still in this overall weekly zone here. It's a strong one. We had a pretty good move up out of it for the past couple of weeks, and now coming back down into it again. Again, I think this one is still fairly strong. Of course, it will depend on where the other U.S. indexes come on their daily zones, but we'll take a look at that in just 1 second. But you do see here right below that, we also have another very strong zone as well that's actually outside of our white space area here. So this one would be, if this first one fails, the second one definitely a good place to get in on another trade coming up, and take that one, hold on to that one for a little bit longer. All right, back down to our daily time frame here. Nothing else has changed. We haven't set anything else new. And then same thing on a 240-minute chart, nothing there. I'll bring up the 60-minute ones, since we had these relatively strong areas in here on our 60-minute chart. However, what happened was, price just gapped right down below them all. So those are all now no longer valid. And I will say that probably indicates a little bit of additional weakness overall here, but we'll keep an eye on that and see what happens. Today is going to be kind of the telling point here. We'll get into that, to why that is, when we get into our U.S. Markets in just 1 second. So let's go ahead and jump over to our TradeStation platform, where we'll look at the remainder of our index markets, and we'll start again with the dollar. And just we'll weekly chart to set our context, and we finally had a closing candle sorry, we have not yet had a closing candle outside of this consolidation area here. So let me just zoom in on this real quick. So remember we talked about this last week, right, where we had this consolidation where just price was getting lower and lower and lower. And actually, I'll take that back. We did close right outside of it at the end of last week, and now we've opened out completely outside of it this week. Opened above, however, we are seeing a little bit of weakness now. So we'll take a look at some of the lower time frames and see what is causing that. So daily area, I actually don't think we're going to get much help here because we really are just trading in this same overall area. As you can see here, really it's the combination of, you know, this one set of candles right here that we just cannot get outside of these ranges at all. So we've got to go down to some lower time frames and figure out why. All right, so let's just jump straight down to the 60-minute chart because that's going to tell us a little bit what we need to see here from a 60-minute perspective. And you can see here we had some really good zone structures here. The first one did not work out well. And actually, if I look closer in on this one, that was actually as expected. Remember the rules we have here for our picture perfect zones. And I'm going to zoom in on this one more time so we can get a really good look at it here. So we've got here this the leg candle coming out of this lower zone here is shorter than the leg candle coming out of the second one, which means price is probably going to go further down into the overall picture perfect zone structure, which is the combination of both of these zones here. So and you can see here when price came down, that is exactly what happened. And so price came right down in here, came up out of this area, and it's had a tremendous move out. And that's where we're at right now. However, we did not take out this previous pivot high over here, so that's one of the reasons why we're kind of stuck in this overall area. Got a pretty decent looking zone right here. If I look left, you can see now it's kind of half and half, right? I would say this is got a odds enhancer look left view of it, but nothing terrific. So I'd look for additional confirmation that this one's actually going to work. If it does. All right, so that's all we'll look at. I'm not going any further, any lower on the time frames here. We'll get into when we get into the Forex area, we'll take a look at the Euro, which will give us some really good opposing zones, which we might be able to take a look at and do some correlation there. So on the VIX, we did see obviously a significant move up here, and really I won't even look at the weekly or the daily because those charts are just not helpful at all right now. The only one that we're really concerned about here is a 240-minute chart. We've got this really solid zone here up here at 29.47. That's where I would expect a bigger move to happen, especially if this correlates with particularly ES coming into that daily zone. That's below where it's sitting right now. We could definitely see that would be a very significant move right there. It's not creating anything new here, so we won't spend too much time here. Looking at our 60-minute area, you can see that we had area of interest that we noted here. Again, it wasn't a strong zone, but we did see price turn a little bit here, right? And it did come down a bit, but we, again, weren't expecting anything significant here, and sure enough, price just came, right back up through it. It's not a zone, right? We'll call this an area of interest just because of the location of this, right? It's not useful really in any way. But when you see structures like this, I mean, they're created for a reason, but you really have to look at the bigger context and know if you're going to do anything about it. So I'm just going to mark it just because it's interesting enough that you can see price drop a little bit more from here. But again, I wouldn't expect an overall big move coming out of here. All right, let's take a look at our indexes now, just again to get kind of level set with where everything is going to move on a weekly chart. Let's see, the only interesting thing we have here is almost negative divergence on our RSI chart. So just quick, I know you guys can't see the little box that pops up on my cursor, so I'll just read this off here. We did have a high of 47.40.50, high of 40.73.25. So technically speaking, we did have a higher price point on the actual price action itself, and then we had the negative divergence on RSI. So again, not a surprise of why we are making a corrective action here. But as you can see on the chart, there's nothing here that's interesting that we think would change direction on the weekly chart. Go to the daily chart, that's where we're going to find that information out at. And just a couple of things to note here. Right, price is coming down into the zone at 44.75, and at that point we are going to be on RSI. We're going to be below the 35 line, bottom one there, which means that there's going to be a fair amount of pressure pushing price down here. But again, if this zone here lines up with particularly the VIX coming up to that 240-minute area, or any of the other indexes hitting, their zones, the NQ is probably the best one that it actually could hit there. Highly probable that this trade is going to work out very well for us. So quickly go over what happened on Friday when price came down into this area of interest that we had. And again, we had marked this as not anything we were going to actively trade, even though it would have worked out as a very, very good trade. Right? We definitely came up and hit would have hit our 4-to-1 target. When that happened, I did see some other indications on some of the share bar charts. What looked like this area was going to hold, and it turns out that was not accurate. And so price has now continued down through here, but it's not setting anything else up. We're not seeing any new supply zones being created here. So not too much of an indication that we've got a significant weakness coming in here. So on our 60-minute chart, we do still have a couple of these areas up above. However, these would have been quick retracement ones. And you see the one here that already did happen. You'd have any more, because once price comes back up in this area, you're probably going to end up having a trend change here. So as I'm looking through here, there's nothing new that this has created that I'm interested in looking at on a 60-minute chart. So let's take a look. So this is a 45-minute one. This was the original one, why the indexes paused back on Thursday. And then we did that deeper look into the share bar charts, which gave us a really good trade coming out of here. But again, overall, this area just didn't end up holding. And again, since we're on here, as I'm looking up and left, I'm not seeing any good formations here either that we would consider strong enough to trade. So let's take a look at our 15-minute, see if there's anything here that we want to get into. And we talked about these upper ones here that were just, these are ones that worked out really well. And you get into while you are when you're in this bigger price movement down. And so again, we are still in a clear downtrend, so we would be looking for some of these same areas. Got obviously some really good structures here, but again, I just caution taking overnight zones with US market open volume. So that would be this one right here. Typically speaking, if you can find these overnight ones and then get into the trade while they're overnight, very, very high probability. But just be very cautious if price comes up into here during the actual US Open. Now, we've got what looks like some additional strength here and a couple of areas. Again, these are during London hours, so not really bad volume, but again, these are counter trend trades as well too, right? We are still overall going down fairly hard, and wouldn't really expect a 15-minute time frame to change our overall trend here. So just look at these areas. Again, if you can get into them before the U.S. market opens, do so, but additional risk mitigation factors here and don't hold on to them for too long. All right. Let's flip over to NQ, because this is where we're going to get another really good indication of where price could end up turning at. And I think we are getting very close to that right now. So just in a weekly perspective, right? And on NQ, we actually do have a weekly zone right here. So 15,339 is where this one starts at. It goes down to 15,031. And I think that lines up, should line up with one of the daily zones as well. So again, this would be a good area if the ES comes down to its daily zone into this same area, VIX goes up to that 240-minute chart, and all of this happens in roughly the same time period. That would be a great indication of taking getting in on a trade like that and holding on to that for a little bit longer. So this area here is what we're talking about. Right, we already had this first zone worked out very, very well. Coming into the second one here at 15,839. So we are just, this one actually is embedded in the overall weekly one as well. So again, price comes into here, same time the ES does, same time if the VIX goes up that high, back up in that 240-minute area. Really good indication that that you can take this trade and again hold on to it for a little bit longer. All right. 240-minute area. This is the one that we saw corresponded with the ES one as well. So we got that bounce out of. We got a bounce out of this one too. It's not quite as high, and now price has gone down through it. But again, it's not creating anything above. No supply zones being created here that would indicate that we are in a much stronger overall move down. 60-minute chart doesn't look like anything. Hang on, just validate that. So the only thing we have here that's of interest is, again, we have it, and the ES had the same one too, right? This little zone here that was created right when the markets opened last night. Super low volume trading there, so I wouldn't really be interested in that. But we'll mark it just in case. Again, if you've got a couple of other odds enhancers while price was in that zone, sure, go ahead and take that trade, but only as a confirmation trade. All right. 15-minute. So we had this, a couple of these set up on Friday, and you'll see here we actually had both of them work out very, very, very well. Right, we had price come up in here right at the open, right? So 15 minutes after the open, came up here, just triggered this trade, and it came all the way back down, right? And came all the way back down and opened down here, which would have been that 4-to-1 very, very easily. So that one worked out very well for us. Market. And then price came right up into that second one as well. And again, worked out just, very, very solid trade given, the level of risk we were going into, especially the fact that it was Friday, right? We were going to, not hold on to these trades anyways over the weekend. So two very, very solid trades there. And then this one did come through again. And then we had this area up here. Would not have expected price to come back in for the third time in work, but it did. And so now it's, coming down pretty significantly from there. And again, just a couple of these other areas, overnight trading zones. So just be very, very cautious of them. But they are there, and they do occasionally work. So, whatever your trade plan is, make sure you just follow that. But just want to point these out and just point out the additional, potential or risk that comes with trading overnight zones. And just a reminder, I actually saw one of the guys I used to follow a lot, Robert Dunn, tweet this out. I think it was over the weekend. Trading, Globex zones in the Globex trading hours is wonderful, and absolutely do that, as often as you can. There's very little risk there. It's just really the level of volume of the U.S. markets being open into some of those lower volume zones that can create some additional risk for you. Okay, RTY. And we've got just a couple of really interesting things here. Again, weekly one, just very quickly, right? We've got this zone right here that we're interested in. At some point, obviously, price has got to go significantly lower down here. We do see it was used early on over here with this wick coming in, but again, if we get confirmation, some other time frame showing us price is going to change in here, then that's a really good confirmation trade to take. But we are a ways away from that. On a daily chart, we are coming very close now to finally breaking through the bottom of this white space area. If we do that, I would absolutely, if price closes below here, so in other words, you get an actual candle body closes here, not just a wick. If you get a candle body closing down here, I would absolutely expect significant more weakness in this market overall. So we've got the same area on a 240-minute chart as well that we were looking at. And we did get price closing, finally closed down below here. Let me just look to the left. And that's what we were looking for, is kind of getting below all of this white space right here. And we finally did. So again, in RTY, it looks like we do have a little bit of additional weakness showing up. Nothing we can trade on that 240-minute chart though. So coming over to our 60-minute from Friday, and we did break through this one pretty strongly. So this one was a loss for us. We just had a little bit too much strength coming up in the other indexes there, and I didn't see where else to get back in on this one. So just mark that as a loss. Again, no other zones really being created here that we're interested in continuing to take short. On a 15-minute time frame on RTY, again, the only thing I can see right now is counter trend trades of getting back long on this, and there's just too much weakness in it right now. I would not trust any of those lower time frame long trades right now. All right, jumping over to Forex now. So let's start right off with our Euro USD, and I think I still have the lines up here. Okay, so what I did for this one, so this is the same, basically the mirror image of what we saw for the 60-minute chart on the dollar. And what I did is it just extended this zone line up here to cover this poking out a little bit higher than it did before, even though you'll see over here on the left, right, this box, this was an actual loss. Just wanted to keep this line on here because it is a fairly strong one. And so now I'm looking through and seeing what other zones that we're creating here that could be of interest to us. And we do have this one right here, right? And so this lines up very, very well with the dollar, dollar one as well. So if price comes into that dollar demand zone and come into the Euro USD supply zone here, this would be a good place to take a trade, because you'll have that good confirmation that gives a higher probability of price changing direction here. And that's really all there is on the 60-minute chart here. Just wanted to show that context again. Back to the weekly. Bigger overall context. We still have these couple of areas right above, right? We're starting to flatten out a little bit. If I'm looking back and left, I can at least see why, right? This isn't a zone, but you can understand why this area right here is a area of support, right? You're not really going to get through here very quickly. And as I'm looking down and left, nothing close on our weekly chart. I think we got the same thing on the daily one too, right? Where there's nothing yet, there's nothing close here. We've got a ways to go before we get down into this 1.1 area, and that's about as close as I would get to taking, a longer term buying position back in the euro here. All right, so we'll look at the 15-minute area here. Clear that one off right there. And if you're looking up and left here, you can kind of see the same area that we've got marked on our 60-minute chart. It's right here, and this area here. So it's not, it's not really a good one from the 60-minute or the 15-minute perspective, but you can at least see where that area is at. And we're in a very, very low probability zone right now, but it does exist. Because if you look left here, you've got to look all the way back over to this area here before you find where price changed, and price did not change in a drastic manner at all. It's stuck around this area for quite some time. So not expect that one to hold. But put it in here anyways, just because it is a zone. So just keep an eye on this. All right. So again, good solid correlation here on our 60-minute charts between the dollar and the euro. So just keep an eye on that. All right, USD JPY, and quick context setting on the weekly chart. A little bit of a consolidation area here, right? And we would look for price to drop down into this area before you'd get back on a very longer term buy position here, and nothing up and left that we're interested on a weekly chart. So daily, we see we've got a little bit of positive movement moving back up again. But again, nothing here until we get back down to this, 111.394 area that we're interested in taking a look at here, and nothing above. A 240-minute chart, a little bit messy in here. Because there just wasn't a whole lot of certainty when you're sitting in these white space areas, and this is really good proof why. Right, so you had this zone here that we had drawn. It didn't take out this one here, and I know we talked about this whenever last time we looked at this was probably last Monday. So we needed price to come up here, take out this pivot high before we were interested in taking this thing again. And sure enough, then we had this area here. And the reason why these are labeled, just a watch instead of actually taking this trade is just because there wasn't any good indications looking left of anything that we thought was very strong correlation here, other than this being, taking out a couple of these pivot highs over here. But again, I've never really used those as very, very strong correlations. I was looking for this price when it came up here to come through this whole area, come back down, pick us up and go. But as you can see, this first area is holding pretty well, and now we're just stuck between these two. We got supply and supply zone up here, demand zone down below, and that's it. And that's why we're kind of stuck in that middle area there. I just quickly look at the 60-minute chart and tell you there is nothing worth taking here. Jumping over to 15 to see if there's anything that we would want to look at from a date, real true day trade perspective. You've got this area that we just came out of already here. And again, it's completely sideways trend, so not the highest probability that one was going to work. You do have this other area down here, and this one has taken out a couple of these pivot highs, but it didn't take out this one up here, so I would be hesitant about taking this lower one down here, but we'll go ahead and mark it. Okay. Going over to Australia dollar, remember we got the announcement coming out from them at 7:30 p.m. tonight, so just be cautious of that if you are trading here. On a weekly, big picture, we are massive move down overall, got a correction up now, and looks like we're continuing our move down. And we've got nothing that, until we get down to this 0.64 area that we're interested in, and nothing nothing else really being created above that we're interested in taking to get back short on the weekly time frame. Daily, we did see we poked right up through this daily zone that we had here. And why did we go all the way up through it? Not really certain. There's no clear indication of why we poked up above the way that we did there, but this one did not work for us. So I will mark that one off as a bad stop set there. I'm going to go ahead and drag this up just to make sure that we're covering this area so we can keep an eye on it as we continue to monitor the Australian dollar one. Okay. 240 minutes time frame. What do we got here? Again, remember this significant down move now on here. We are potentially setting up for a continuing down move on the weekly chart, so just keep that in mind as we're looking at context for getting into even some of these middle time frame trades. There's nothing up and left that I'm looking for. The only thing I would say here is you do have a, pretty good zones here getting back long again. These would be counter trend trades, so just be very, very cautious of them. And 60 minute. We've got looks like a pretty solid zone down here again. Watch your trend. We are back in a sideways trend on the intermediate time frames here. So if that's not a complete counter trend trade, you may want to look into taking that. And we've got a little bit of strength showing up now. Trying to find another place to get back in short on this. I'm just not seeing anything. It's about as close as I can get to something that is even a reasonable looking trade. But again, you would need another odds enhancer, another correlation to actually make that work. 15-minute time frame. What do we got here? So we had some setup from last time, and those just did not work at all. Let me go ahead and zoom in on them just so we can see. So you had good solid zone structures here. And but it just price just did not stick in there at all. And kind of back up again, take a look at it. We would have been, I think, really a counter trend trade. These would have been sideways trends. So these were just wrong. Nothing really, no good indications of why they didn't work out well. So we'll mark them off. On some of these lower time frame trades like this, I tend to really only get interested in them when they're retracement trades. So price comes back into them quickly rather than waiting, that long to do so. So just kind of as an example, right? I mean, you've got this. Technically speaking, this is a zone here. Price have to come back down in here almost immediately to take it. If price keeps going up like this and then drops back down, later on today, tomorrow, even, just there would be no interest in taking that at all. So again, looking up and left to find areas to get back short in. You've got this area right here, and that's about it. Mark that one off. Okay. Keep going. We've got British pound against the US dollar, and here on a weekly, you've got these areas here. Again, if price comes back up into them, they're fairly solid zones. And honestly, the way that this price structure is set up, the lower one is the higher probability one because of that the to picture perfect zone correlation. On a daily chart, looks like we came oh so close to getting up to this area that we had drawn here. Again, another picture perfect zone, and again, this one is set up to the lower zone is the higher probability one. At this point, if price comes back up in here without breaking this low point right here, this would be a good trade to take. If price comes back down here, breaks this, and then comes, by the time it comes back up in, you're likely to have had a trend change state. And so I wouldn't be that interested in taking that one again. And there's nothing down and left here that is of interest to us. On a 240-minute time frame, you can see here just a very clear downtrend, but we've hit, again, another solid area of support. Right, price cannot get back down here. We don't trade those, but they still mean something. So we just want to be cognizant of them. And there's nothing, there's no zone structure here that's worth taking. So again, dropping down to our 60-minute time frame, we did have price come back down almost below, but not quite. RSI dropped very, very low here. So again, maybe another indication of a little bit more weakness here, trying to get in short. You're still in the middle of all this white space though, so just be very cautious with any of these, and that's about the only one that I can see here for GBP. All right, 15-minute time frame. Again, we are shorter time frame down, but really, again, this is a sideways trend here. Just keep that in mind. I still got, the bias is still short though. And I think this is the same area we just looked at on the 60-minute chart, right? So you've got the two zones right here. If you wanted a little bit, more of a fine-tuned entry point, this would be a good place to get in on that. Again, I don't know that I would say any of these are going to hold, for longer terms. I'll keep these ones as probably more of your just short-term day trade options. Okay, let's go to Euro JPY now. And here we are coming up to some higher time frame areas. You've got this, again, area to watch just because it's more time goes on, right? This becomes stronger and stronger because if you keep filling this white space area up here, you get more imbalance right below. It's still just an area to watch. We'd look for, again, another indication that price is going to change there, which we might get by looking at our daily chart. And here we do have something that we're very interested in because it is below all of this white space area here. And so price comes down here 127.166. That's this zone right over here. Again, looking left, prices change in this area. So again, I would a little bit more confidence here, but just note that you do have the zone on top of a zone right here. And this is all, again, inside that weekly area. So good indications, right? You've got some additional good structure here that could make this work out fairly well for us. All right, 240-minute time frame. Looks like we had something drawn up here, and look, almost the same situation we had on that the Euro USD, right, where we just had that poked right above it where the zone was, and then just dropped phenomenally down from there. We are nothing new here. You're still in the middle of all this white space. You got to have price come up out of it. You've got this zone right here. I'm going to mark this as just an area to watch because you would need some other confirmation before you take something that's sticking that far up. All right, 60-minute time frame. I think we've probably got the same scenario here. In this case, we would have ended up. This one would have been a break-even trade. Price came up and it did drop down out of there, but in the end, it didn't hold. Oops, wrong color. So what else do we have here that we are interested in taking? Again, remember, we're in the middle of this white space area here, so just be very cautious. These are shorter time frame trades, and nothing here that I think is strong enough that we would be open to take it. Looking for day trades here in the 15-minute time frame. We did have this area here, worked out very well last week. And again, biased towards shorts, but we're, middle of these areas, so nothing is significantly strong. This zone right here, if you do look left, you can see price came in here a couple times and moved out, so you got some additional strength here. But again, shorter time frame trade. Don't stay in this one for very long at all. Okay, let's get to US Canadian dollar. A lot of strength here. Even on a weekly chart, you're starting to see us break above these previous highs now, and they're very, very close to closing a candle above here. Once that happens, that's a lot more strength in this market. So I'd be much more comfortable taking in additional long positions here. And yep, nothing else. On a weekly, so daily, you've got, again, you can see the strength coming back in here. But the closing candle above this line. Right here. I got 1.29469. Get a daily candle closes above there, and we've got some additional strength. And we do have a picture perfect zone right here. Again, prices got to get up above that before these become active. So just keep that in mind. If they do, this turns into a very, very strong area. All right, 240-minute chart. Again, we've got, starting to change trend now on these intermediate time frames. So again, bias starts turning towards longs, and got to break these candles and close above them, not just a wick above them. And when you do, zones like this start looking very good. Break this area here, watch for a retracement to come back down here, and good solid zone. A 60-minute, we got a little bit of negative divergence on RSI here. So what I would, perfect world, price comes back up to this line right here. Get a candle to close above it, and then drop down for a correction. And that's when you're going to look to start getting in on, back in on these long positions. I don't see anything here in the 60-minute time frame, so use the 240 or the daily areas to get back in on them. And then very short time frame trades. Again, we've got some indication that we've got a potential correction coming up, but I wouldn't take. Let me just look over here. I don't think I would take any. Yeah, price movement is way too far out, so I wouldn't want to take anything even on a 15-minute area. So if I'm looking for what's a short-term trade going along here, and I'm not seeing anything until we get back down into, again, those 240-minute areas or the daily chart as well. Here. All right, Australia CAD for our last Forex pair, and then we'll move into crypto. A weekly time frame, sideways downtrend for the most part. So shorts are your biased short for higher time frames. And there's not really anything here in a weekly chart. The only thing I can see is all the way down here. Came close to it. That's your weekly demand zone that you're interested in, but I don't see anything. This area here looks sort of interesting, but the formation is just off enough that I'm not None sold on that one. So daily. Okay. We do have some reasonable looking zones here. My only concern is that we are still clearly in a downtrend on the daily chart. So if we break above, then all of these become active. And your first two here are the higher probability ones. But you've got to break, you've got to close above that candle first, or this line. If you don't close above here, don't take anything down here at all. All right, 240-minute time frame. We are potentially setting up for that corrective move back down again. If you look at here, price came up here, fairly high on your RSI chart. You got a little bit of negative divergence here. Price comes back up here, and then you still have negative divergence. It's a great area to look for a confirmation trade to take short that during the correction. But remember, if candles close above this line, all these zones down here on your daily chart become active. So again, you wouldn't want to hold on to those for any length of time. And I'm not seeing anything on a 240-minute chart that's worth taking right now. 60-minute. So you've got this, same area here, right? Now this on lower time frames, right, the picture changes a little bit. You're a little bit more of a sideways trend here, but still overall biased up. Again, if price comes up here and breaks this line here, then this zone becomes very, very nice. Watch for that correction back down, and that would be another good entry point for you. 15-minute chart, just to see if there's anything that's really close in we want to take. We're not going to take anything short here, right? You're way too small time frame. But you've got, so this area here has already been used, and we can see why. Again, when you look left there, you do see a pretty solid formation, and so this would be one here. You take this one if you don't get that close above here. Like if price comes down directly from here in here and retraces down here, you might want to get into this long. If price does close above those 60-minute or 240-minute lines and then comes back down, it's going to come through this without stopping until it gets down to those lower, again, 240-minute or even daily zones as well. All right, so that's it for Forex. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of our cryptocurrencies so we get an idea of what some of the potential upcoming day trades are for them today. So flip back over to our TradingView chart. And let me flip over to cryptocurrencies. And we'll take a look. We'll start. And I'm just going to go through these fairly quickly. Again, we're really just looking for day trades right now. We're not even trying to set up context or longer term trades here. So I'll flip through these fairly quickly until we get ones that could happen today. Nothing on Ethereum either. DOT's got nothing either. And just a reminder, you'll see this in the educational video that comes out shortly. We did find out with Coinbase, which is the app we're using to do the day trading on. For now, just says it's got the widest variety of currencies that we can trade. We can't short anything there, so we can't sell anything there and take advantage of market moves down. So supply zones that you see on the charts here will just be more just indicators of where price is going to move from. We can use them as targets for some of our trades as well, but we're only able to take long positions. So that's where if you see me skipping short positions, because we can't actually take those as trades. All right, Dogecoin, we've got no long setups here. AVAX, and as you can see here, right, there's a clear bias to the downside right now in most of the currencies we're going to be looking at. Shiba, we do have one here. And I say day trade, even though it is a daily zone. Let me zoom in on this for you. You can see this here. So this is the bottom end of our picture perfect zone that we've looked at before. And as you can see, following the rules of it, we are slightly biased to the lower side here, but not drastically so. So this isn't a clear indication of where the price is going to automatically work coming down here, but you will see we are coming down. So this will be a point, bunch of zeros. 2807 will be the entry here when we get into it. And then of course, if price does come down here below this line, we'll just go ahead and get out with a market order, and then the target will be a 4-to-1 risk to reward ratio. I'll set that up for us real quick. Set context here for our target. So the target prices here is the bunch of zeros, 3, 4 will be the target coming out of this trade. And nothing else here that we've got. So we'll go over to Matic. And nothing that I've got set up for a long position here. CROs, same thing. We've got some areas that are way below on the daily chart, but unlikely going to get to them today. Actually, probably for the next couple of days. Wrapped Bitcoin, same thing. Still fairly far away from any lower zones there. Litecoin, we do have one that we could potentially see this one today. Let's go ahead and pull it up. We got the 144, almost on the dot here. Going down to 143 would be the lower end of it. You can see the target's already been set for right just above 148. So we'll be monitoring that one throughout the day, and if that does pop up, we'll point that out. Actually, looks like we may have one on the 15-minute chart as well, and we do. So again, down here at 145, stop is going to be at 144.49, and then you can see target here is just above 147. So again, if that comes back down close, we'll make sure that we get that information out as it's happening. But we'll be taking both of those trades. All right. UNI, nothing here, just you kind of see it here lower left hand corner, right? The price definitely is responding to our supply and demand zones fairly well. I just wish really bad that we could take shorts here. Obviously, as additional platforms start gaining more and more popularity and more functionality with the different cryptocurrencies, if we find a better one we can actually take shorts in, we'll definitely be switching over there. Let's see, Algo has nothing at all. Link, we are coming up to a couple here. We've got the 60-minute chart. All right, so right at 18. Stop will be down at 17.7. And target will be just under 19.2. I said 19.14. So again, as price comes down into there, we'll be taking that trade. Looks like we may have one on a 15-minute chart, or is that one been? Yeah, it's already been used. Figure it out. Okay. Looks like I may have missed that one for tracking purposes over the weekend. Just a note, I did get through all of the last 2 weeks worth of zones that we've been tracking. So 51 total zones that are tracked right now, and 48% win rate on those on a 4-to-1 target, which means that's a very, very profitable position to be in. So it looks like the supply and demand zones are working, and we'll just continue to track those. Once we get over 100 of them tracked, that's when we start fine-tuning our rule set for how we would be taking different trades and what other odds enhancers we have, or other structures and time frames that we'll look at specifically there. So Bitcoin Cash, got nothing here. XLM, nothing close. We've got a daily demand zone coming. That could be several days away, honestly. But that's all we have there. SOL. We've got this area here that hit. I just started tracking this one actually this morning. I put this one on, so you did see we had a really good response to this area here, but this isn't a picture perfect zone. There's nothing below it that I can use to take this again, but that zone worked out very, very well. So again, another one that we'll be tracking and adding to our metrics. LCX. This one had a very, very good move up over the last 2 days now, but no zones here that we're looking at until we, you see that got one on 240-minute chart, but it's fairly far away. ADA, very different than LCX, right? Overall bigger move down, and nothing here that we're interested in taking. Flipping over to the actual symbols that are in our portfolio right now. I'll just try and hit the ones that we haven't looked at already. AMP. Just making sure. I don't know why this is so squished up. We don't have nothing there. No zones that are close that we're interested in taking. CLV had a couple of them defined here, but we're already in them prior to actually doing the live trade. So not actually trading these zones right here, but it looks like the first one didn't work. Second one is would be very close to stopping out anyways. We've already looked at a couple of these other ones here. XLM is coming up, so we do have one on XLM that we could potentially take as well. Let's see here. Yep. So these first two, I still have to track those that happened. These things went through overnight, but we did set up this additional zone. Just zoom in on this so you can kind of get a better idea. So right here, price is coming back down. We're still, again, following our overall, initial set of rules here. Allows us to take pretty much any trade out there. Again, the educational video shows some more depth into how we're tracking them, how we're rating them. Prices coming in here, right, 0.2579. The stop will be at 0.2259, and then target for this one will be 0.265. All right, ANKR, nothing upcoming. QNT, the lower zone here on the 240-minute area we're interested in, but that's probably not going to hit today. If it does, of course, we'll make sure we get that information out. And then FET, nothing here as well. Spell, one that's already used here. We got one below on the 60-minute chart, 0.014. If price comes down here, we'll be interested in that one. IoT, nothing there. And then RLC, see just a whole lot of weakness here. Did have this another zone that hit last night that I'll be adding to our tracking metrics as well. All right, so quite a few of them coming up. Again, we'll send out notes every time one of those comes close with exactly what our trade score is and whether we're going to take it or not. And then we'll follow up every one of those with a follow-up screenshot of the trade actually being taken, and then whether or not it was successful or a loss for us, and exactly what those losses are. So follow us on all the different social media platforms to get access to that information, and of course we'll be reporting on it through the daily show here as well. And that will be it for us today. Thanks again for joining and for supporting the channel. Give the videos a like if you enjoyed the session. If there's anything else that we can do to make this better, please leave comments. And make sure you subscribe to the channel so you get notifications when those additional videos come out. Have a happy and safe trading day, and we'll see you all again tomorrow, 8:15 Eastern Time.